The hardest thing in therapy is not starting, it's walking away when the therapist isn't helping anymore. Especially when you've been with them for a while, they know your story. It's difficult not to think, could the problem be me? If you've ever left a therapy session feeling worse than when you walked in, and I'm not talking about the productive type of worse when something shifted, I'm talking about the flat, the deflated, where you know you just gave your money for nothing or even worse, then this video is for you. I'm Daphne, by the way. I'm a Gary Craig officially certified EFT master, meaning I trained by the founder of EFT tapping. And my job is to help people who are frustrated with talk therapy to start getting results. But this is not what qualifies me to do this video. What qualifies me to do this video is the countless numbers of therapists I've seen in my life when I was searching for a way out of panic attacks, depression, and bulimia. I'm good now, I'm stable, content, happy, more often than not. And I'm grateful to all the therapists out there who helped me. But the majority didn't. So if I could turn back time, this is what I would tell myself every time I was wondering with a therapist. Should I stay or should I go? It's simple to just go on Google and look for toxic traits. If they have this, they're a bad therapist and I leave them. That's overly simplified. Yes, there are some really red flags, like sexual misconduct, if they're yelling at you, calling you names. The red flags that are a little bit more subtle. They're not listening well, they don't remember stuff you said, they speak all the time, they lack empathy. But if you are truly wondering whether to walk out on your therapist or not, none of those lists is going to solve your problem. Life doesn't work like that. Things are not so black and white when emotions are involved. So, how do you know if your therapist is good or bad? Back to the basics. Embrace yourself because you're not going to like what you're about to hear. Your number one responsibility when you are in the world of therapy is to protect yourself. Wait, what? Isn't therapy supposed to be a safe place? It is, but it's not a perfect place, and that is for three reasons. Number one, the power dynamic is seriously lopsided. There is this beautiful rhetoric. The client is in charge. The client is setting the direction. The client is the employer. And the therapist is the collaborative guide. Bullshit. The moment you open your mouth and you make yourself vulnerable in front of somebody you have paid, they are the authority and their opinion has power over you. And if it's a good therapist, that's great because you need to trust them so that they can guide you towards a new way of feeling or thinking. But if they keep making serious mistakes, this can be deeply damaging for you. Number two, the bonding is real. Now, that's something that therapists know, but clients don't. When you start with a therapist, and especially if they help you out at the beginning and you get that therapy high, that hope that, oh my God, I'm going to solve it this time, I've got it, this person is going to help me out, what is more likely to happen is that you will idolize them. You're going to feel respect, admiration, deep trust. You might be in awe. You might even feel romantic love. And if that therapy starts crossing some serious boundaries, it gets really confusing really fast. Because you need to go from, oh wow, they will save me, to, oh wow, they're hurting me. And number three, there is some light-hearted advice circulating out there. Oh, if one therapist doesn't work, just go find yourself another one. It's mental health we're talking about, sweetheart. We're not shopping for cocktail dresses. If you give a therapist a chance and things go south, it's not gonna feel like, oh, that's all right, let's just move on. You're gonna feel broken, you're gonna feel damaged, sometimes even beyond repair. You're gonna feel desperate. You might even get more trust issues than you had before or start second guessing your whole identity. Because the reality is, if therapy doesn't work, there is a very good chance you might get re traumatized. And all of the above happened to me and early on in my therapeutic journey. So, what I did was to develop a system. How do I evaluate the therapist? Because clearly it is my responsibility here. And that's why I developed the three flag system to evaluate the good, the bad, and the ugly, because it all exists out there. Red flags is when a therapist does something that crosses your line so badly you just have to run for your life. Like, no discussion about it. Yellow flag. They do something that annoys you, doesn't sit well with you, but all things considered, they do other stuff that actually do help you, and it's worth continuing. And green flag, oh, my favorite of all, and it has happened to me a couple of times. When a therapist exhibits such behaviors that restore your faith in therapy. So, here is how I use this system in practice. First talk therapist ever. I'm 26 years old, and at that point, I'm so convinced that therapy is for broken people, for the crazy ones. But I had some serious issues with my eating and with my body image, so I gave in. And I went to this man and I went all in. I opened my heart, I cried my heart out, and this man gave me some practical advice. He actually said, get yourself a mirror and just look at yourself. Like, can you really be as ugly as you think? And it kind of worked. I felt heard, I felt seen, I felt supported. So I go to the next session and I am going through the therapy high, right? I think this guy's going to save me now. Everything is going to be great. It's just a matter of time. But I went so much to the other extreme, so positive, the man didn't know what to do with me. By the end of the session, he pointed the finger and he said, you are schizophrenic. And that seriously took me aback. Because I walked in thinking I have issues with food and my body image. And I walked out thinking, like, should I be hospitalized or something? Like, is this more serious than what I thought? So I ran to the office because I had a really good colleague and friend there. So I go there. I'm like, Paul, this is what happened. Please tell me the truth. Is there any way? Is there any chance I might be schizophrenic? Well, thankfully, my friend laughed to my face and I found some grounding. Now, this is as much of a red flag as it gets. Of course, I never went back. And the next time I bumped into him in the street, that this man was so embarrassed he couldn't look at me. He knew what he did was very wrong because even if I were schizophrenic, that's not the way you announce it. Fast forward 10 years later, because needless to say, it took me 10 years to give therapy another chance. I went to a somatic therapist this time. Amazing man, amazing professional. I've never felt so cared or of, but genuinely cared of. So much so that my body actually allowed me to have a panic attack for the first time in front of another person. And instead of just sitting there looking at me or intellectualizing the whole thing, this man put his hand on my forehead and he said, breathe in and out with me. And I calmed down. He blew my mind. When it comes to anxiety and panic attacks, there are actually things I can do to my body to calm down. I don't have to just talk about it. I had no clue. That changed my personal life and my professional life forever. So I kept working with him. I got, of course, the therapy high. Things were starting to improve, but really improve this time. And I thought that I was falling in love with this man. And I thought that what was happening was pretty special. I didn't know this is the most common thing happening in therapy rooms. So I was flirting with him, and one day he actually pinched my bum, and the room froze. It was so wrong. It was so uncomfortable. After the end of the session, I had to seriously consider what am I going to do because this is as red of a flag as it gets. It's sexual misconduct. Now, that was not a red flag for me. That was a yellow flag for me because I saw the remorse. He started behaving fully professional. We never talked about it, but the change in his behavior was very clear. And we both managed to put it aside and continue the therapy. But if I were a woman with serious sexual trauma, this would have been deeply traumatizing for me. Next therapist, psychiatrist at the NHS in the UK, the National Health System. This woman listened to me so attentively for 2 sessions. I never even knew such kind of listening exists. And she was silent. She was just taking it all in. So I asked, what do you think? She said, I'm not ready yet. I'm not ready to speak. I was taken aback because I'm used to therapists talking a lot. And after the third session, she says, okay, listen, I was all ears. This woman was silent for 3 sessions and now she wants to talk. I'm all in. And she says, despite your polished image, underneath your panic attacks and your depression is huge self-esteem issues, and I cannot help you with talk therapy. And I was like, oh, whoa, you're breaking the news. You're right, I kind of knew it. And you're not going to help me? You, the person who's listened to me in the best possible way ever? He said, what I can offer you instead is an invitation to join a group therapy experiment I'm setting up. I was up for that, but I wanted her to work with me. So I went back home. I Googled her. She had a private practice. I emailed her, please accept me. Let's do talk therapy privately. I'm happy to pay. And she said, I meant what I said. If I could help you, I would have done it through the national system. So I really hope to see you in my group therapy. And it's like, whoa. This woman, this level of transparency, this level of honesty, it doesn't exist easily in therapy rooms. Typically, the blame goes to the client. This woman, God bless her, wherever she is, she restored my faith in therapy. My first CBT therapist, a little bit later down the line. I show up to this woman, professional, excellent. I said, look, I think I'm crazy. So let's get a final decision on whether I'm crazy or not, because I can't handle this anymore. And she says, why? Why do you say that? I said, look, I grew up in a home with stability, no alcohol problems, no drug problems, no gambling, no violence, intellectual people, smart people, they paid for my studies. I don't understand why I have panic attacks and so much anxiety since the age of 12. And she said calmly, I don't understand either, but there is always an explanation. After a year of talk therapy, what I came to realize is physically present parents is not the same as emotionally present parents. And also, emotional neglect is a thing when you're dealing with highly egocentric parents. What I didn't know is that emotional abuse is real and doesn't just affect you mentally, it affects you physically as well. And that was the moment that all the rage came up and all the grief came up. The nightmare started, my teeth were falling off, it was impossible to function. That was the most desperate moment throughout my therapeutic journey up to that point. And that was the moment where talk therapy is done. So now we analyze it and then you just go and deal with it. I couldn't deal with it. The only way I could deal with it was my mind was going to some really dark places, which thank God I didn't act upon. I've never felt more abandoned in my life. It felt as if this woman cut me open emotionally and then she left me there to stitch myself back up. And even though this woman made zero mistakes, she was an impeccable CBT therapist, this was the biggest red flag of all. So I walked away. My second tapping therapist. This was a man that was emitting so much trust and authority. Not only he had the best qualification in EFT tapping, also before he became a full-time EFT practitioner, he was a surgeon, he was a doctor. You could tell this man can handle difficult stuff. The only thing that I figured out down the line was that this man was relying more on authority and less on earned rapport, which works perfectly in medical rooms, but not so much in therapy rooms. So when I went to him, I was boiling in anger and rage, and I just needed somebody to help me take it out of my body because I couldn't talk my way out of it. A couple of times he told me, when I was expressing my anger toward mom, dad, family, other people, he said, calm down, just don't be so angry. I felt so dismissed. I'm coming to you because I'm angry and you tell me to calm down? The third time he said it, I went livid on him. I actually told him, like, if you don't know how to handle emotions, you shouldn't be a therapist. And that's a red flag. So I walked away. And even though I had to walk away, this was a truly powerful experience for me because I saw myself standing up, calling out authority, pure empowerment. I also have some funny stories or horror stories, depending on how you say it, from therapists that I only saw once and I disqualified them immediately, but that's for another video. So, what is the key takeaway here? I want you to understand that what is a red flag and what is a yellow flag for you is far more personal than what you thought. So let me give you two simple questions to ask yourself in order to evaluate your therapist. Number one, have they ever done anything deeply hurtful or disappointing that you just can't bring yourself to talk about it, or you have and it has completely backfired? If this is the case, the relationship is broken, in which case you're not going to get much out of it. If addressing it properly is not an option, then you're better off walking away, saving yourself money and time, because no transparency also means no results. And speaking of results, number two, are you getting results? If you look back 2 months, 4 months, 6 months, is there any change, any meaningful change in the way you handle your problems, in the way you think, or in the way you feel? I know with talk therapy it takes time, but are you even aware of how the progress works, and are you measuring progress? Because this is the dirty secret that nobody tells you. There are perfectly nice therapists out there. They listen well, they ask thoughtful questions, they note at the right times, and they never help you change a single thing in your life. And that's what I call the silent killer, the biggest red flag of all, because it silently reinforces you are doomed, nothing is ever going to change. And this is the point where people seek my help. When they don't want to analyze it anymore, when they feel stuck there and they just want things to change. And this is also my most favorite part in my line of work. Because when people come to me, I do promise result and they do expect results. But what they don't expect is that the problems that were crushing them at the beginning of a session, after an hour and a half, they start feeling positive about them. This is too fast. And I love their surprised expression. Because what they get to understand is that EFT doesn't just build a better story about your pain. It releases your pain so that you don't have to carry it around. Ask yourself this question. If somebody stopped you in the street and said, what is your therapist actually trying to achieve? Can you answer in one sentence? If your answer is something along the lines, processing my childhood, understanding myself better, book an intro call with me and I'll show you what a single session of tapping can help you achieve. See you on the other side.